Welcome, everybody, to the L.U.M podcast. I'm Luke.
I'm Mike.
And we have DeAndre in the house. Say what's up, brother.
What's up, what's up? Nice to finally be here. Big fan of the show.
The aura behind him. He's
Goddamn
aura
right.
farming.
Listen up, motherfuckers. We are talking about some heavy shit that's going on. It stems back to 2021 and 2020.
Yeah.
And it has to do with the police dog or the sheepdog warrior cop mentality, which bothers the shit out of me. There was a young man. DeAndre, do you want to take us through it?
Yeah. So Cyrus Carmack was killed in cold blood by Rick Chow, an Asian man. And the story is just the same over and over again. We are seen as threats. Our children are seen as threats for just existing. They accused this boy of stealing water bottles, accosted him in the store. Rick Chow's wife did. And the boy is seen on film putting back the water, like he was at the water bottles. He had them on camera, put them back, and proceeds to walk back to the front of the store. And that's when Rick Chow's wife comes and accosts him, this child, and accuses him of stealing. I don't think there was any audio on the videos or whatever, or they didn't release them if there was, but he then proceeds to start leaving out of the store, and then you see Rick Chow and his son grab a gun and pursue this child out of the store. They chased this boy longer than a football field. I believe they said it was 180 yards. I don't know if either of you guys have ran a football field, but the amount of hate you have to have in your heart to chase a boy almost 2 football fields and shoot him in his back. Like, it's sickening. Like,
Indeed. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I have 2 sons at home. And growing up, I was raised and taught to present myself in the least threatening way possible. And as I've grown up, I've seen that it doesn't matter. And it really disheartens me that my children are going to have to grow up in a world where they don't know who is looking at them in what type of way.
If we look at how tragically far back this goes, I can remember, I'm not even trying to go down history. I can remember watching a video where I first got introduced to Killer Mike as a person who spoke out for the community. He was doing a speech. I believe it was in an all-black national conference. And he asked them in the room if they were ready for revolution.
Yep.
And he went down the line of why they weren't. But the line that stuck out.
Grow your own food?
Well, the line that stuck out to me that goes poignant with what DeAndre is saying is that he said that a lot of you in this room, the older people in this room, you weren't able to, or too scared or too late to be able to fight this revolution. So don't send these babies out to do this battle for you. And then instructed all of the young men in that room that your only job is to survive the encounter. If you want to talk about how deeply rooted the belief of making yourself as small as possible to limit the target that's already larger than anybody can see, it's a man telling his fellow African Americans in that room, their only job is to survive. He's not telling them to fight. He's not telling them to try to fix the problem, but he advocated that the people in his community need to do what they can do. The leaders, religious leaders, the people who are educated enough to be lawyers and judges and work towards getting the support needed. But that's them having to do extra steps to be treated fairly in our current socioeconomical environment. It's just their reality.
When someone's running away, you don't have the right to chase them down and shoot them.
Exactly.
You're not a threat at that point in time. And DeAndre, did they find that he had stolen any water? Did he steal anything?
No, he had not stolen anything. They claimed that he had a gun.
They find one of those?
I don't believe they did.
It doesn't even matter. He was running away.
It doesn't, exactly, and that's the thing. Even if he had a gun, as soon as he left that store and they started chasing him out of the store, he would have been all in his right
to turn around and
shoot them.
Yes, to defend himself.
Defend himself. And you know, I was also raised in a household that was pretty anti-gun. And I am never gonna advocate for violence, but I will advocate for protecting yourself. And I think that every black woman and black man need to educate and arm themselves and protect themselves. I'm not saying go out and fill the streets with lead, but if the system isn't going to defend us like it's supposed to, if our justice system is not just, it falls on us to protect ourselves, protect our communities. And I know that violence begets more violence and all that shit, but we are in the violence. We are having violence perpetrated against us. So it comes to a point where you need to protect yourself. You need to protect your children, protect your family. I
had a saying that I talked to Luke about in regards to the concept of being against violence, condoning violence, right? And my thought process, I'm clearly an outlier according to other people of my skin color, but I'm never going to condone the violence of a sheep defending itself from a wolf. And I'm not going to sit in a situation where a system is in place to purposefully allow this behavior to happen in regards to this community. You want to know the one time the NRA supported gun control laws in the United States? It was when the Black Panthers showed up to protest the Morgan law in California while Reagan was governor to stop them from being able to open carry. They can't even defend themselves or patrol their own neighborhoods out of fear that a black man with a rifle has. We get to, like, just to go further down that line, the stand your ground law that DeAndre is saying that could have been used in this situation to protect himself. That's the same law in a lot of these southern states that is validating the racist killing of all these other people.
Exactly.
It's not a tool. We can pretend all day that the stand your ground is a two-way street, but the system doesn't treat it like a two-way street. It doesn't care about it being a two-way street. It's the weirdest, most convoluted way of legalizing murder.
Absolutely. And while I am not naive enough to believe that if Cyrus did turn around and shoot Rick Chow and or his son, that he wouldn't have still went to jail. But I tell you what, I would rather live the rest of my life in a prison cell than be dead at 13 years old.
Yep.
That's just.
And Rick Chow was recently acquitted of wrongdoing. He shot a 14-year-old kid in the back. So I guess the question is, he said, probably knowing the answer, why is it that black people, primarily black men, but a lot black women as well, why are we seen as threats? I don't believe you say that you're fearful of you're in fear of your life. I believe that they saw a threat. Because if you're afraid, you're not going to chase somebody for 180 yards.
If I'm scared of something, I'm not running.
If you're, I don't understand the logic. And DeAndre, I'm glad that you asked to be on. I'm glad that we have you hearing your voice. You mentioned that it was hate.
It was hate.
And honest to God, I didn't believe it when he said it. And I'm thinking about it. Well, what else could it be? If it's not hate, it's fear. No, fear means you don't chase something. No. Profit? No, it's water. No. It was all I can think of was I'm gonna fucking get you.
Exactly. It was, and it's because of all of hundreds of years of propaganda in this country.
Yes. Dehumanization,
classifying us as fucking animals.
Yes.
And like at one point we weren't even a full person. Like,
yep.
And then once we were freed, it was, oh, they're lazy. Oh, they're dangerous.
Once you were free,
it went into diet slavery.
Exactly.
So it went from you are property that we have bred like livestock to now we're going to play games in your face and we're going to give you apprenticeships and vagrancy laws and things like that. They're going to keep you in enslaved. Again, I'm reading and I'm educating myself on a lot of the stuff that has happened in our society. And there's a lot of media out there that is bringing this shit to light. I never knew and I never learned from my Catholic high school that black people were eaten and fed to each other.
Oh.
I never learned in my Catholic high school that black people were skinned and tanned and made into leather. And it was said that black belts from African Americans were considered incredibly supple and sturdy. I didn't know that they fed black babies to alligators.
Yeah, used them as alligator bait.
And they would sit and they would have picnics for this shit.
This treatment of people and dehumanizing them is historic across the board when it comes to a powerful group that has no other means of subjugation other than cruelty. You look at the treatment of the Maori in the same way in New Zealand by the British colonizers. They were skinned for their tattoos. Some of their ancestors' bodies are in the London Museum of we have a horrible history of dehumanizing other human beings and from my perspective, white man's perspective, for the only purpose of elevating the weakest of minds into thinking that they can be superior to another. Because this has been something that's been happening to white people groups that were not the in groups for years. The Irish were treated like shit by the rest of Europe. The Italians, to this day, Italians aren't considered by pure white people as white because they have African blood. So this isn't like a magical problem. This has been going fucking on for as long as we have had power dynamics where one group can be exploited, treated like lessers, and anytime they've ever, within our U.S. history, tried to gain some form of ownership over something, Jim Crow laws come swooping in and taking out the largest percentage of black politicians to enter into our politics. The freaking the craziest thing, even before redlining,
is the murdering of people who were in office during Reconstruction. Yep. Then there's people who were attempting to vote who were intimidated out of it or just murdered out of it.
Then there's the saddest truth. All right, every social safety net you benefit from, everyone here benefits from the Social Security, or any Medicare, Medicaid, even the what is it, minimum wage, even minimum wage. All these things that we talk about that were passed by Roosevelt, right? FDR. And we talk about all these are the greatest things greatest policies that have ever happened in our country. You know what the price of those were? Because the Democrats, which Roosevelt was, had to get support of the Dixiecrats. He had to have support of the Southern Democrats because this was prior to the shift. He willingly ignored all of those things involving the Jim Crow South. He allowed the Jim Crow South to exist
and fester
so that he could get these policies changed and make it so that black people couldn't even take advantage of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about, I wanted to make a post a while ago, but Luke talked me down from it. Not like it was a bad idea, but it was the way I view it was that a long time ago, I wanted to make references to a movie made in the 60s called No Vietnamese Ever Called Me
N-word.
And in that movie, you effectively...
I don't even say it.
Yeah, in this movie, you effectively have a large-scale amount of Black people in America talking about how certain aspects of their movement towards civil rights tied into the Vietnam War had these men going off to die in a foreign country under reasons they weren't even fully capable of understanding, to come back to VA benefits they would never be allowed to take. Yep. And then on top of all those things, these are the same people who then come back and are being told that they have to bite their tongue, hold their trigger finger, and not be, frustrated and pissed that they're not allowed to be full humans in the United States after they fought for it and bled and died for it.
And this is the part where I'm going to shit on the moderates again, because how long would you wait for your equal rights? How many more weeks, how many more months, especially after coming back from fighting for your country? Especially considering that Black chattel slaves built this country, built the fucking White House, built the entire economic systems in the South, and have done nothing but kill themselves in the service of this country. And this is their thanks. All you can see is threats. All you can see is people that are different and therefore less than, who you've never let had an actual fair shot. Black people really are, if you think about it, superheroes in a way, because all we want is equality.
No, and
instead of revenge, because I mean, DeAndre, you talked to me about this last week, and you look like you haven't slept a wink. This looks like it haunts you as a father. It looks like it haunts you as a man. I imagine if you were haunted enough to just want to snap and have nothing but revenge. It would be within your right. And
we're looking at a system that failed this young man before he was even born.
Yeah.
We have an education system that is designed to undereducate people who live in poorer neighborhoods, which are predominantly ghettos that are housed by African Americans in the country. Though these neighborhoods aren't even mostly owned by these people. Jay-Z famously said, you're killing people, you're dying over a neighborhood your mama don't even own, a house your mama doesn't even own. So if we're looking at a system where the education system, because I still have people that are in my timeline that I have to hold my tongue on, because I'm of the mind, if I see somebody who's willing to be dumb enough to out themselves, they're on the list in my mind. I'm not going to let them know. I know they're doing this shit, because it's easier for me later when there's a moment where we actually can get some form of truth and reconciliation to go, I got a long history of knowing this guy's a bigot, racist piece of shit. And I have this all here because I stayed to watch it, so he couldn't hide. But
I have a black friend. I can't be racist. I have a black friend. So, and this is the kind of gaslighting that we're going to get. Exactly.
You got a fucking coon.
Or you just have an exceptional Negro. And I guess,
I love the exceptional
and the issue is
the exceptional Negro
you and me both, man.
Listen,
so if people won't even do the work, won't suspend their fragility for 5 seconds to look inward and say, how am I contributing to this? Is there any of this stuff on me? Because no one has to say that you need sackcloth and ashes. No one's saying you have to be a black person's slave to minimize stuff. You just have to understand that it's happening so that you can start to see how the matrix is working, and you can call shit out when you see it. Because this is the thing. If you don't admit that there is systemic racism, that there is racism that permeates us as a culture, that our language is permeated and our culture is permeated off of enjoying the entertainment, enjoying the athleticism, enjoying the fruits of black people, but not liking them.
Yeah, absolutely. They love to take our style, our fashion, and entertainment, and at the same time, they love to take our lives because they value us for just that, our entertainment, how well we can dribble a basketball, how well we can sing a hook. And it's just
or just
crazy.
the style, just the hair,
The
the dancing, it's the this. Black people in this country are the central cultural paradigm, and it all radiates outwards.
Yeah.
But you can take those things and you can enjoy them, but you have to fucking pay back the community. You have to be there to fight for the community. I mean, think what you want about Eminem, but he doesn't play about black folks, and he stays by and large in his position.
Yeah.
And he really seems to get it. And so if you are all about those box braids, if you love, you know, all the hot new lingo that black folks make cool, then you owe. And in the way that you owe is not to say I'm not racist. It's not to say I have black friends. It's not to say I'm not. It is to be rabidly and ravenously anti-racist. There's a kid on a reel several months ago, fat kid, and the guy who was on the camera, this is in a high school, was walking and says, I support ICE, I support ICE, I support ICE. And people walking around, and that fat kid said, I'm gonna punch you in the face. Dude said, and dude fucking gave it to him. We need you, young man. If you ever are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, your Cops Burger and frozen custard and Black Cow root beer milkshake is on yours truly. Thank you for your service. We need 1,000 more just like you. When I was an interpreter at Milwaukee Public Schools, white people, by and large, white kids were not like, oh, I feel bad about black history. They said they did that to my friend that's fucked up. Or they would just sit there and be like, that's dumb. That's dumb. It makes no sense. And they're absolutely right. However, your parents need to get hip to it. Your grandparents and your aunts and uncles need to get hip to it. And this is primarily a white problem because you cannot convince someone that you are an equal human being when they have decided that you are not. And when they have it here, when they have it in their bones, in their DNA, that you are not equal. You went from slave to sharecropper to apprentice to nuisance in the buses and in the in the factories and in the shops and in the stores, etc. And the moderates just think that it's not time yet.
Yeah.
It's not time. We're not ready. The world's not ready for equality yet. How many more years do we have to fucking wait? Because let me ask you this. Do you think that you have equality of access, opportunity, and protection under the law, same as a white person? I sure don't.
Absolutely not.
But
We've never had it once. And I'm fucking light-skinned as fuck. I went to theater school on the East Coast. I can speak in I got standard RP, motherfucker, and I was still racially profiled.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to ask what happened to you, man, because in Milwaukee, this is the worst city to grow up a black man, a young black man. And so we know this shit. This is the most segregated city in the entire country, and so we feel this. And we don't talk about it. Everything is in coded language. And black people just seem to be erupting in anger out of nowhere, out of nothing, when it's just, we are sensitive to the continual cuts, to the looks over your, no one wants your fucking bag. You shut the fuck up and turn around in the elevator.
Right, exactly.
Nobody's going to steal your Kohl's, bag or any stupid shit like that. Stop following us around.
Well, let me tell you. So I have a second job where I do floor refinishing. And I had went over to this apartment to refinish one of the units. And it was like at 8 or 9. And so it was, darker. Mind you, I have a lot of equipment that I have to carry into these buildings. I have a mop bucket, a regular bucket, brooms and shit, and I'm walking to the door. And there's this white lady walking past. And the look she gives me and with her purse, like, bitch, do you see? My hands are full. You think I'm trying to rob you? And it happens all of the time. I've gone into Asian shops, just like Cyrus, and gotten those same looks. Thank God I didn't get chased out of the damn store. But I have felt the looks and I'm going to sweep up in this aisle. Oh, he's over in this aisle. Let me go sweep over in this aisle and keep an eye on him. Mm-hmm. Keep an eye on him because I know he's as soon as one or two black kids come in,
immediately the place is like staffed like a motherfucker. We actually I worked at a place where if we felt like we needed more people out on the floor, we'd call back and we'd ask for more videotape. I'm out of videotape. Can you bring some more videotape out here?
Mm-hmm.
And that means get the fuck out of the tourist center and go and mingle in the shop.
Yeah.
Because we got people who we think are stealing or might steal. It was never racial, never like that. But in retail, asset management and asset loss prevention is a thing. And it's definitely not a fair thing or an educated thing.
No, because
or an intelligent thing.
In retail, because I've also worked in retail. In retail, you always profile the dirtiest looking person that walks in your store because obviously they're poor and they're going to steal. So you follow the people around that you think don't have a lot of money.
So just to give an idea, because I obviously I'll never, from my background, I have a BA in geography, meaning I dealt more with like the humanistic, human geography portions of this, a lot of dealing with like your urbanization, city planning, and just general ideas of like human movement within a geographic space, right? I was taught by one of my anthropology professors that there's two major parts of like your cultural experience that shape how you view things. So I'm gonna make a quick reference to this to let you guys understand that I will never understand what these two men have lived through in their lives, but I have an idea of the responsibility I have. Okay. So you have your first primary cultural experience. It's what you grew up with. It's how you were raised. It's what you saw in the world. But then you have your secondary cultural experience. Your secondary cultural experience is you viewing the rest of the world through the lens of your primary cultural experience. So I already grew up being the way I am. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to see things, but I'm never going to fully understand why these people do this ceremony before they eat, why these people view this thing as a cultural relevant thing, why a different group of people would be treated a certain way. Like for me to like go to India and not understand that there was a caste system without being told it directly and seeing that different Indians were treated differently based on how dark their skin was. Mm-hmm. I'm learning that as a white person. But a long time ago, I'm not going to name his name, but a very close friend of mine who I was friends with since high school. He is one of the darkest men I know in my life. And me and him were playing.
He was Southern India?
No, he was a black guy.
Oh, black guy, okay.
He was a black guy, darkest guy I've ever met in my life. But me and him had been friends since high school. And we hung out all the time. He's the first guy I ever smoked weed with when his father died. And we were playing a bar league volleyball tournament thing. He asked me to come play for his team as a sub-in. And we went to go do this thing. And every single person in his team was a white person. He was the only black guy on the whole team. We go do our whole thing, the volleyball thing. We go to the bar and every single one of the people on his team but him said, hey, let's go to the pier in Kenosha and jump off the pier. Kenosha, town 40 minutes south of Milwaukee. He was like, I can't do that. There's no way I could do that. Because Kenosha has a very long history of having very racist cops. Oh, yeah. He is an Afghanistan served Army soldier. He came back with crazy amounts of PTSD. He was arrested for assaulting an officer after his sister, who thought it would be cute, called the police on him for sleeping on his own porch as part of a wellness check. He woke up, according to testimony, he woke up with the cops on top of him telling him to stop resisting and was arrested for assaulting an officer while being handcuffed while he woke up from being blackout drunk. He never remembers doing anything else wrong. All he knows is that his sister called the cops on him to do a wellness check. She saw him pass out on the porch. Fast forward to this night with him, and we're driving through downtown Kenosha. And one of the kids that we were with, one of the kids from the team, asked us to come pick him up because they didn't jump off the pier. So I took the turn to go towards the pier, and my friend looked out the window and said, "You ready to get pulled over?" Because I recognized that cop. Because it was the same cop that had identified him in the case to get him arrested on a felony charge of assaulting an officer. I get pulled over. This guy doesn't even talk to me. Doesn't even say anything other than, "I need to talk to your passenger." And my friend during this whole time is taking his wallet out, his things out of his pocket, all these other things out of his pocket, and shoving them in my glove box and looking at me going, "Give this to my daughter. Please let my daughter have this because I made this for her today." And it was a very crudely made little doll that he had made out of things from his work. And he was asked to get out of the car. asked to show his ID. I was like, why is he being asked to show his ID? And the officer just looked at me, and my friend said, I don't have an ID on me. Didn't matter. He got out of the car, got to the curb, they handcuffed him, put him in the back of the squad car. And I had to sit there and watch this entire thing happen, because any action from me would have led directly to me being right there with him. And he begged me not to do it. He begged me, get this to my daughter. Please just get this to my daughter.
Survive the encounter. He got out, he got put in the can, and I had to give this to his baby mama, who they were once married, but she is so in the Kool-Aid about him being a bad person that what did he do now? What did he do now? Because for no matter the group, if long as you feel like you can somehow eke out a little bit of that, I'm not them, it's getting used. It's getting used. Yeah. I mean, there's no solidarity.
No.
In high school, one of the books that I'm sure is to be banned is a tremendous piece of folklore called Their Eyes Were Watching God. It's about a woman named Jane or Janie. And one of the characters in there is a black woman who has Stockholm syndrome. She hates black people, looks down on everybody who's darker than her, loves the white people, and fawns over the light-skinned black girls. The presumption that there's something wrong with a black man automatically in an encounter with police or an encounter with somebody that is learned behavior through centuries and decades of saturation.
Yeah.
What do they call them? Super predators.
The super predators.
Secretary
Hillary Clinton.
Secretary Clinton. Yes.
Thank you, Joe Biden, for broken glass laws too.
The judge. What was I going to say? The frickin'
super predators. The judge.
Yeah. Super predators. The Mayor Giuliani with the broken window laws of New York, just getting more people in prison and in the system, where the recidivism rate is terrible because these things don't work. There's no rehabilitation going on. And I can hear you in the comments. I can hear you. But that's just one person. That's just one example. This week, 2 days ago, Elijah McClain, the late Elijah McClain, who was killed in 2020, 2021. This is the kid who's a massage therapist walking home in Aurora, Colorado. And he was a violin playing nerdy kid who loved to, he would play violin to cats, I think is what his thing. He was good with cats. And he was walking, he was stopped by police. They decided something, and they thought that he matched a description, of course, and they tackled him. They tried to hold him down. They called the paramedics, apparently, and he kept saying, I can't breathe. I want my mom. I'm sorry. These paramedics injected him with ketamine, which originally was designed as a fucking horse tranq, and they administered an improper dose at an improper time in an improper situation, and he died. And the police officers, I believe, were sentenced to prison. The paramedics, one of them was sentenced to prison and one of them was pled down to like house arrest or parole or something like that, probation. These motherfuckers are now getting a new trial. Mm-hmm. Their conviction was overturned. When I saw this was after D and I were talking about the episode, and I sent the irony is really bitter tasting. And I sent it to him and I said, I guess we got more to talk about on the cast because our lives have no fucking value.
Not to them, not to this system. Like
the killer, in my opinion, is that there's people who try to push things that are pseudoscientific to justify why they believe this treatment should be normalized. if we look at the dumbest of statistics that gets thrown around when we talk about the criminality of African Americans, 1350. 1350 gets thrown around like candy by the most racist pieces of shit on the planet. But you know what statistic they never bring up? Black people make up over 55% of all acquittals. Mm-hmm. So you can charge them all day on a crime. But here's the thing. You want to look into how bad the system really is, how these numbers get juiced. I recommend everybody, when you get a chance, look up the case of Earl Sampson out of Miami Gardens, Florida, a man that was arrested over 128 times for loitering at the place he worked. Mm-hmm. And he had to make a plea deal for over 60 of those cases, because if he would have tried to fight it in our current bail bond system, he would have been broke and would never have made it to work. Yeah. Because we don't understand, especially these friggin' modern Democrats who don't seem to want to understand that the policies in place are weaponized in such a way that it makes fighting back seem almost impossible. You have the
financially impossible for sure.
For a lot of them, it's definitely. But you also have like the Innocence Project. The Innocence Project says that by their estimates, at least 50% of all death row inmates are innocent based off of their assessment of cases. So from anyone's metric, then that means that if you're pro death penalty, you're pro capital punishment, you're okay with 50% of the people on death row being innocent and still killed. This is just cruelty at the highest level. I was talking about this earlier about the water bottle thing. But, this kid got killed over an accusation of stealing about $1 worth of water. And we're supposed to have people who tell us that, like, if the child steals bread, it's because he's desperate and you should feed him that bread. Cool. What if this kid was desperate for water and you're denying it because we live in a system that values private property and equity over human lives? We do it all the time. It's constant, nonstop. You throw up every statistic you can to try to diminish other people's existences. You tell me, oh, your brain capacity is smaller. Oh, you're unable to do these things. But then I say, okay, well, then why do people like Neil deGrasse Tyson exist? Why do people like, for Frederick Douglass ever exist? Oh, they're the outliers.
Exceptional Negroes.
Exceptional Negroes.
They're the exceptions that disprove the rule because there are so many of them. And I think we're about to get a front row seat to how racist this fucking country is. And it is called the FIFA World Cup. Oh, yeah. Already, there was an official from Somaliland mm-hmm. who was bounced back. He was not allowed back. He was not allowed in the United States to officiate his game. There are, right? Yeah. Yes.
He just wasn't accepted.
I think he hadn't. I think it counted as a diplomatic visa.
I do not need the FIFA World Cup to prove to me how racist my country is.
No, what I'm saying is,
I got the Supreme Court. I got the Supreme Court telling me racism doesn't exist anymore.
This is going to be. I'm sorry. This is going to be an obvious and very, very public series of
unfortunate events.
Yes. It is going to be an absolute clusterfuck all over the country, and there are going to be a lot of the Iranian team apparently has to they have to fly in and fly out, or they have to enter and leave the country on the same day they play their match.
They also were seeing it with pins on with the number 168 to indicate the amount of children that were killed in that bombing that our government did. Mm-hmm. So
some of the Iranians also in some of their football matches, they're wearing backpacks, tiny little purple backpacks to symbolize the children, the girls that were killed in that Tomahawk missile strike that nobody has paid for, nobody has been prosecuted for. It really feels like it's been decades and decades and decades of internal groaning and a lot of surface level nothing. And now it feels like the wheels are about to fall off the thing. It really feels to me like we're going from nothing to everything. Nothing is happening, and all of a sudden everything's about to happen.
It's a war of words. It's all been a war of words since the beginning. As long as they're able to chop up another person's existence into the smallest possible box, they'll do it. Because it's easier to demonize them and shove them away. We're talking about the war in Iran is not even a war by American standards. The war in Iraq, which I have a medal for operations and isn't a war by the United States metric. So
we haven't declared a war since World War II.
It's all bullshit. It's all crap. The Reagan administration in Nixon, no, it was Nixon. It was one of his secretaries saying we can't directly arrest the black or the hippie for protesting, but we can weaponize and criminalize the things they love in common, which was marijuana. Mm-hmm. So you want to say, oh, there's no verification that happened. The guy said it. And
they also propagandized it through films like Reefer Madness, where it was basically a ridiculous caricature about how these wild black men are going to get high, get your women high, and they're going to run around and capture and procreate with your white women. Again, the incarceration rates are goddamning, where I'm pretty sure white folks and black folks smoke weed at proportional rates, but black folks are in prison for
just
all of it.
Everybody likes weed.
Yeah.
Even the people, even nowadays, most of the people that don't smoke weed don't really care if people are smoking weed.
I have a confession.
Uh-oh.
Mike doesn't like weed. Oh, doesn't care.
I don't smoke at all. Just to clarify, just give people an idea how ridiculous this is, okay? Sidney Poitier, when he was, what is it, Meet the Parents, or whatever the movie was, where he kissed a white woman. He thought he was going to die. Yeah. People thought he was going to die. One of my favorite horror movies of all time, and I will stand by this being one of the greatest horror movies of all time, is the original Night of the Living Dead. And in that movie, the black hero
saved everybody
up to the end, and it was only their ignorance that killed him. And he slapped the shit out of that white woman. Pow, right to the door. But here's the thing that's ridiculous about this is, like, if I want to be meta about how stupid this is, okay? When we're in a situation in America, and we talk about it a lot in regards to, like, ostracized and attacked groups being the early warning system to the treatment or changing of cultural norms in regards to what's acceptable. And we talk about the black people being the number one group that's like, those have been happening for a while, brother. I don't know why y'all surprised by this. I don't know why this is like a surprise to you. That's my theory as to why the black person dies in the movie theater or movie every time when it's a horror film. Because they'll be the first ones to warn everybody that the killer's somewhere in the house.
Yeah,
like,
that's how they
get
make it realistic.
Get rid of the early warning system. So it's easier to pick off the rest of these idiots who are still here walking around my house.
Also, you have to kill the black guy first, because otherwise the movie wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, because
if one person dies and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we've lost two people, it's dark outside, and I think all of a sudden,
get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, all of a sudden the black dude, it's not even like we should get the fuck out of here. It's just like, where'd he go?
Right.
He's already gone. He's already gone.
Let's just be honest.
What's the rule? You see a group of black people running, what do?
You run.
You goddamn run. You ain't asking nothing. You just fucking run. Because
Scooby-Doo is black coded. Okay, let's just be honest about this.
Survival.
Shaggy.
Survival instinct. Scooby-Doo also. Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, the black dude, and the hippie.
That's what I said.
Smoking all the weed. Smoking all the sandwiches.
Scooby-Doo is black coded.
Popeye. It wasn't fucking lettuce that he was, or spinach. He had a big old pipe full of green stuff, and when he lit it up, he was super strong and stronger than ever. Yeah. It's just another way of keeping folks in prison. It's another way of
the second that prisons became privatized, the second that they could find that they could get money from taxpayers to maintain these large facilities, we started shoving people into these prisons because it was easier to control them as per the 13th Amendment. We have
labor.
We have the largest proportionate amount of prisoners of any other country by a huge metric. They're used as slave labor in a lot of these locations. And the biggest thing is that a lot of the programs that were designed to help rehabilitate these prisoners was removed from almost every major prison system
for labor programs.
Well, not just for labor programs, but to stop them from being able to better their lives because it's easier to have a repeat offender who always keeps coming back, and then let them go back into their wild environment where they can be around the young kids and corrupt them to be what has been known as the school to prison pipeline, where nothing is changing in the environments of these people because their property taxes are always the lowest. They're always going to get the worst equipment. They're always going to get the worst teachers in schools. And it's going to be a continual cycle of these people having their worst members be sent off, even in regards to like their worst people. I can remember having a drug dealer live across the street as a local drug dealer. Cops rounded up all the local drug dealers, the guys who actually gave a shit about the communities. And now we're talking about MS-13. We're talking about these like out of state drug cartels running fentanyl purchases and doing all these things. When it used to be just the dude on the corner or a guy living in a house, you'd go to his house, go inside, buy your stuff, get the fuck out. Now it's, all right, cool. We got this whole thing where now the FBI is involved, and everywhere I go, there's destabilization of even our most black market activities. So nothing's safe anymore, and everybody's dying from fentanyl in the country.
And there's no, the numbers aren't getting better. And you could go the Portuguese route, legalize all drugs, and really, really devote your resources to defeating addiction in the way that it is and scientifically has been proven to be, which is a disease, a medical problem. And they don't have much issue at all. In Holland, the only issue they have is young British men coming in and ruining everything because they don't know how to behave themselves and be cool about it. So drugs it just beggars belief, and it really is irritating to see the way that people are used and rounded up for labor through drugs.
Especially when you gave them the drugs.
Yes, you put the drugs into put them into their communities.
Locked them up for having the drugs that you gave them.
Yes, speaking of racism,
like a fucking scam to me.
It smells like one. And I mean, you can say that's not true. Blah blah blah.
Like entrapment. I think that's illegal, isn't it?
Yeah, until they write a law to allow it somehow. I mean, crack versus powder cocaine, mandatory minimums. You can look that up if you want an example of how the criminal justice system, and especially the way that drugs are prosecuted, is racist. The majority of crack users are black. Majority of drug users are white, or cocaine users are white. The mandatory minimums for crack are substantially higher than the mandatory minimums for powder cocaine. This is racist. It's designed to get people in prison, and then again, you're stuck in a cycle of poverty. You're stuck in a cycle of substance abuse and dependence so that they can keep using your labor. Again, another video I saw earlier where there was a kid, a young black man who was being sentenced, and they asked a representative, and a bad representative from the prison who had a Southern accent. This young black man was standing there, manacled, everything, and they were talking about his fitness for labor and sweat equity, and he does seem able-bodied. And I'm just like, why don't you just put him in the Amistad clothing?
Right.
Why don't you take his clothes? Exactly. And it's what it looked like.
The shackle around his neck.
Exactly. And it's like you're talking about this guy like he's a motherfucking beast of burden,
Absolutely.
and you say things like sweat equity. Sorry. Equity implies ownership, motherfucker. Are you saying this kid is going to generate an equity share in the prison? I highly doubt it. Stop fucking playing in people's faces. And the racism inside prisons is dangerous. The racism among prison guards is super dangerous. The racism that gets people into prisons is super dangerous. And I'm going to go again. The sheep and the goats, when I was sick or imprisoned, you visited me. So Christians, this is the system that you have allowed in your infinite and your God's infinite wisdom and kindness to fester and exist. So this is also a you problem. Yeah. What are you doing to amend the prison system, the criminal justice system, to actually rehabilitate and avoid incarcerating people who don't belong there in the first fucking place? If they have drug issues, they should be given medical and psychological assistance. If they're symptoms of poverty, which means theft by and large, then guess what? You need to invest in the communities. I mean, you really, really hear, oh my gosh, we need to fix this. We have to fix this. And then I have sarcastic people who are like, this is a feature, not a bug. And it's just like, fuck off. You're not helping.
Well, to get a little cynical,
They're not wrong.
The people who are all the God's plan people, I just want to look at them in the eye and be like, if it's God's plan, then you can never blame a person for a crime they've ever committed ever, because it was part of God's plan that they committed the crime. Exactly. If we're talking about like why I mentioned earlier, it's like a war of words problem, is on the other side of this, you have a problem that has been solved by a lot of civil rights leaders throughout multiple years, but it's always shut down the second that it's figured out. And that's that you have the weaponization of victimhood by the lowest group of white people in the country being used as the tide that keeps the foot on the neck of the African-American community. Because if you tell a white person there's a such thing as a white privilege, it's an attack on their existence.
I worked my ass off. I worked for everything I had. I was poor. Let me just time out. Let me just define. White privilege is not the absence of difficulties. It doesn't mean your life was smooth sailing. It means you had fewer hurdles to overcome, fewer barriers to your success than a person without that privilege. I have light-skinned privilege. I'll bet you that I would probably be a little less likely to be arrested than maybe DeAndre, just because I'm lighter skinned and he's got dreads that really make me jealous. I have male privilege. I can go places in the dark or at nighttime that women can't do that. That doesn't mean that my life isn't hard. It doesn't mean that I don't work my ass off for what I have. It means that I can do things that other people can't just by virtue of what I am. Exactly. So because you have white privilege, it just means that maybe your work when you busted your ass yielded you a bit more.
Yeah.
You got 55 points rather than 45 points.
Yeah.
You started maybe a little closer to the end zone and you still had to work, or maybe you had 30 hurdles instead of the 60 hurdles that a black person might have.
Your white privilege is that you get the benefit of the doubt when you walk into a store.
Or a bank. Or a police station. Or you're passed out on your stoop. Yeah, or you're passed out on your stoop and somebody needs to do a wellness check.
Yeah. I don't know. My neighbor, my last tenant before DeAndre moved into my old house was killed on the porch being drunk. He got shot by the cops.
To be fair, he also had a gun that he pointed at the police.
He didn't shoot it at the ground. He shot at the ground. They shot him right in the neck.
Okay, well,
but no, the thing is too. The reason I brought this up though is also to hit on the backside. If you're a person who is in a lesser than favorable economic position and you're white and you feel like this conversation is targeting you, I'm just kidding. As Luke eloquently said, get bent. But no, I'm being honest about this, right? When you saw movement from people like Fred Hampton in Chicago, where he was able to bring people together of different racial groups, but similar socioeconomic conditions, and help them realize that a lot of their problems are being perpetrated so that they can victimize all of them, and that they're using race as the excuse and the confusing argument to make them fight each other.
Insert the LBJ quote here.
Yeah. He was able to show that to these people, and it terrified them so much they killed him in the night.
Yes. It terrified the system so much they killed him in the night. It took a whole shitload to convince these poor white people to join up in their best interest.
I'm going to wrap things up if I can, right, with this last thing I want to add, because I've talked to Luke about this. I've talked to DeAndre about this before. I'm of the mindset, and I know the dude I'm going to reference is a lunatic, but he's the kind of lunatic we need. I don't think the world needs more MLKs. It doesn't need any more Malcolm X's. It needs more John Browns, burning Kansas John Browns, a man who believed in his heart that the slavery of the African American was a crime against God. And he took that to his grave. He went from Kansas all the way to West Virginia, trying to free as many black people as he could, along with his sons and followers, and was caught by the all-star cast of the Confederacy in West Virginia, while it was still Virginia, trying to get a weapons cache open to give them to free slaves that he was helping to free. He's the only person in American history who was tried, convicted, and executed for the crime of treason against the country. And he was done so because he wanted to free 3/5 of a group of people. Well, so let's just be honest about this situation. This has gone on too long. White people, get your heads out of your collective fucking assholes. Stop pretending like you can hide behind this, moderate Democrat who's terrified to let their world disappear because they're willing to risk it for other people. Because guess what? The canary in the coal mine's already gone. It's gone off a while ago. You're just too stupid to understand it. And if you don't think it's real, understand this. All the old people that voted for Trump, all these old fucking rat bags who think that their worldview still matters, even though they're going to be dead in 20 years. They were the same motherfuckers yelling at the Arkansas 5. They were the same ones telling them to get out of their schools. They're the same ones teaching their children.
Little Rock 8.
Little Rock 8's when Arkansas.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. But you
9. Little Rock 9. Shit.
You have a situation where these people still exist in this world. They're still teaching their children because we have no mechanism in our society to rectify this problem when it comes to falsifying true factual information when it comes to our American history.
Yeah, because they gutted
all this thing.
They gutted critical race theory.
Well, it's not even critical race theory. That's a whole other problem. What I'm getting at is other people control our
critical race theory. These fucking
they're
morons.
These people control our education books. They control what you're taught. They want you as placid and willing to take in whatever they give you as much as possible. But at the end of the day, these are the same ones telling their kids that racism doesn't exist and that black people are the enemy, because you have people who are in their 30s and 40s going into student council and PTA meetings talking about how their kids are being taught critical race theory, which makes them feel bad about being white because they don't know what critical race theory is, as we alluded to a second ago.
And in previous
and they
episodes.
can't remember that their parents were alive when black people couldn't marry white people. Mm-hmm. And racism's gone. Barack Obama made racism go away. But then the second that the fucking Supreme Court decides to overturn Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, every state that had Confederate flags flying over their state capitals are right back to it. Jim Crow 2.0. And that's why I'm fired up, because it's just so fucking frustrating. I'm not going to sit here and watch another of my friends be treated like less of a human being because of a system that doesn't value what they are or who they are. It's garbage. Absolute shit. And if I got to be the angry white dude who's going to get flagged online by a bunch of racist white dudes, you can eat my whole asshole. I will invite you to my house to do so, tongue and all, because that's where your fucking mouth belongs.
Damn right.
So
on behalf of Mike and DeAndre, I'm Luke, and I just want to say, hey, we're pulling for you because we're all in this together.
Stole my catchphrase.
Also, it's important to know that we need to not feel too bad for DeAndre, because this is an Esper and a Grixis player. He plays Kedis or Reanimator Kess.
On behalf of
he
all...
plays Kess, Reanimator. Don't feel bad for this. This is an evil motherfucker.
On behalf
the
of...
shit that he has done in Grixis to me personally... Don't feel bad. Don't feel better.
On behalf of the white delegation, on behalf of the white delegation below the average height of 5'9", we don't feel bad for him. I'm 6 foot, but anybody about 5'9" is because he got a bigger dick. All right, let's be honest.
I wouldn't know.
I'm 6 foot.
My name's Paul. This is
I'm fine.
Hey, I'll tell you right here, Mike, it ain't about the height.
Oh no, it totally is for us. You got to get that height in there. You know.